Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Huffer, lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And the way this podcast works is we want to help people find what we call the made for more life. And as I looked around and asked, how do we do that? I thought, man, I have the best friends in the world. And they help me flourish at life and relationships. And I think me sharing them with you will help you flourish in those two areas as well. So each episode, we have different friends. I have different friends from around the country and from our community come on and share from their heart and their story about what Jesus has done in their lives and how he can help you. And so once a month, we do a thing called a For the One story. This is based out of Luke 15, where we have the lost sheep, the lost coin, the lost sons, that the father, that the shepherd, that the woman, that they go after and pursue those that are lost and bring them back into the family of God. And that's God's heart. And so as our church, we try to celebrate those stories. And so if you want to follow along with us, you can do that on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. We also have an Instagram account at Huffer and Friends. So today we're doing one of those For the One stories with my friend Lindsey, which you've heard on our podcast several times before, and our friend Annie White. And so I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you. Annie, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about your family, what you do for a living. Go ahead.
I am Annie White. I am married to John. We have two boys, Cody and Brett. They definitely keep life exciting and full of energy. I work at Arthrex. I just hit 8 years there. It's a medical device company here in Naples. And I was born and raised here in Naples, never left, never planned to leave. So
That's awesome.
guess we call it paradise.
Yeah, paradise. We always call people we find that grow up here a unicorn, because everyone else is a transplant. You all are
Yes.
very rare to have someone that was born and raised here. I'll ask you a question about being born and raised here. So what is one of your favorite childhood memories about being born and raised in Naples?
Childhood memories.
A question you didn't prepare for.
I know.
No.
What did you grow up doing? Was there we always went to, the zoo for field trips, or we boated a lot, as a key wading, the thing.
We never went, my parents weren't boaters. We would go to the beach every once in a while, but a childhood memory that is definitely stands out, nothing to do with Naples, but my parents got a motorhome randomly one summer and they're like, get in, we're going to California. And we were gone for 3 or 4 weeks and it was amazing.
From Florida to California? Oh, wow.
That's
Naples
awesome.
to California? Wow.
Yep, Naples to California.
Well, and you guys did a similar trip recently with your kids. You took them out west and did trailer home, or not, camping, right? In a motorhome?
No, you won't find John in a camper or in a tent. I tried that once with him and it didn't work so well, so we had to sell the motorhome. We did go out west, but you'll also not find my husband taking those types of road trips either.
Yeah.
So we fly. We go over the flyover states.
Yeah.
We're not a family that's going to drive anymore. So
yeah, but then you rented a car and drove around the west, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes. So we rented a car and we did all of Sedona, northern Arizona, and South Utah, like Zion Park.
Oh,
and it was awesome. So fun.
That's so cool.
So hot in July.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so neat. Lindsey, what about you? Tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do, your family.
Sure. Well, hi, I'm Lindsey. I moved here to Naples about 3 years ago. I have a husband, Nick, which I've talked about regularly on this podcast, about how great of a husband he is. And then I have two kids, Charlotte and Henry. They're 9 and 11. We're about to get a dog here in a week and a half. So I'm so excited. Sai's going to get a dog too.
Stop.
So they're going to be siblings. And I'm going to get a dog. I'm lying. He's not going to get a dog. But I'm going to get a dog here. So we're going to have a fifth family member. So yeah, I work for Humana full-time. And part-time, I shouldn't say part-time, second full-time job. I'm also a photographer. I do lots of family photos and love doing that around the area.
That's so great.
I grew up coming to Naples, though. I have lots of family memories growing up in Naples. I spent Christmas here every year of my life from the time I was born in February. So the first Christmas, however many months old that is, 8 months old, something like that. 10 10 months old,
There you
10
go.
months old, not 11. I'm not good at math. We spent Christmas here every year, and this is where I grew up coming to Christmas every year. So we'd always find a church on Christmas Eve to go to. We typically would go to the same church, which is not there anymore.
Okay.
I went to the same church growing up for every Christmas down here in Naples. And so, yeah, so this is where I woke up Christmas morning every year.
Like Lindsey, you moved here a couple of years ago. Annie, born and raised. So what's your friendship story?
Oh, well, I'll let Annie tell this one because she has quite the story, but then I'll give my perspective.
No, I love to tell this story. So Lindsay walked into the baseball field one day. Her husband Nick was the coach of Cody's team. She came strolling in this cute little Lululemon athletic dress with the most perfect bronze tan. And I'm not going to lie, my first thought was, okay, who is this girl and what sunless tanner does she use? Totally joking, but serious. I mean, have you seen her tan? So from that day on, we just had little small talks at baseball when she would show up, mostly for games.
I don't think there was I don't think there was
She-
small talk. You just stared at me.
I mean,
In
in awe of that beautiful tan. So,
Yeah.
but then she took me to the beach to try and give me the same tan, and it never happened. So, but now that's where we
almost the
find
same
ourselves.
color. We're almost the same color.
Not even close. My freckles aren't even as dark as you.
For the record, I do not use selfless tanner. I just hang out outside a lot. So yes. Yes, my perspective on that same story was that I would show up at the baseball field and nobody would talk to me. I just sat there by myself cheering on my son playing baseball. And then there was this cool group of people over here who are very into the baseball game, which I had no idea what was even going on. But there was this cool people group over here that didn't want to talk to me. They were too cool for me. And then one day it 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 clicked.
And here we
are.
Yeah.
How many seasons later? Like 4 seasons later? Baseball seasons?
Sure.
And slowly you just started
Sure.
hanging. I mean, you just went to the beach.
Well, she invited me to her son's birthday party. I think we went to dinner, like, well, she was gone. She wasn't even there. The boys were in like the tournament. And so then we went to dinner, and that's when we like really met John, was at dinner that time. And she was in California for Arthrex.
Yep.
And then shortly after, she invited us to Rhett's birthday, but that was like right before we were leaving for summer. It was like a week before we were leaving for Peoria for 6 weeks. So we hung out at the like one time at the birthday party, and then we didn't really hang out all summer.
And what was like, so, part of this story is pretty neat, is that at some point, Lindsey, you start attending church and you get involved with the gathering.
Mhm.
And then at some point you saw Annie as someone, you said, hey, I want to invite you to come and be a part of this church, or come check it out or whatever. So how did God, I'm going to ask Lindsey the first question and then Annie the second question. Okay. So Lindsey, God used you to pursue someone that was close to you that maybe wasn't going to church at the time, right? What was that process like for you? Like being a new believer, going to church, newly going to church for you in a while. What was that like for you?
So I think, as you said, I'm not newly going to church. I just kind of started going back to church for the first time in a long time. And I think about the time when I first met Annie, like I didn't have a lot going on and things were great. And, we were leaving for summer, you're looking forward to this. When I got back from Illinois, I think that I had some struggles. I had some of my own friendship hardships, I guess I would say. I think at that time, before we left for summer, is kind of when we started our home group with you, and that's kind of when I really like felt my connection coming back to God, coming back. And so then when I got back and I was dealing with some of these really hard times that I was dealing with, I mean, I went through some pretty dark moments, I believe, when I got back. And it was something that I just kept praying for. And I just kept praying for like, just to, I just felt lost. And I guess I kept praying for like a path, and I kept praying for people. And, for those that know me, I surround myself with friends. I love friends. I love company. I love being around people. And like that's really important to me. And so I started to tear up. I think that like I I prayed and I was like, I need to find my people. And I think what Annie and John don't realize is that they were brought into my life at the time that I really needed them the most. And I think, um, and I don't believe that's by coincidence. I believe it's because I prayed for that. Um, and I didn't look at Annie and John like, okay, they don't go to church. I didn't look at them at all like that. It just was, we just had a really great connection. And I mean, Annie and I have a lot of similarities and we just enjoy each other's company and, we just have so much fun with each other. So it just was something that, okay, they're here in my life. And I'm the type of person when we kind of talked about this in church last weekend that, you know, um, First Peter chapter 4, about hospitality and giving and loving deeply. I feel like I'm a very deep lover. I'm very passionate about everything. And I think for me, here I am experiencing the goodness of God during the trials of my life and experiencing all this goodness. I wanted to share that goodness with others. And so for me, it's like, oh my gosh, you have to try this restaurant. This restaurant is so good. If you don't go to this restaurant, you're just missing out. You have to go to this restaurant. That's just like my personality. So it's like, that's how I am. I think about church. You have to come to church. Like it's Sai's so great. Such a great preacher. You learn so much. It's not like overpowering in your face. You have to come. And I don't think that for me, I wasn't trying to like pressure Annie into going to church. I think that it was more of like, I'm experiencing this goodness and I want everybody to share the same love for Jesus that I have. And so it was more of like, hey, you should come to church one day. I have a dad who's too much where you have a conversation and somehow he's trying to like throw God in your face. And some people don't want to hear it always. And so I was trying not to be on that level, but I wanted to share that. And I wanted her to, and it was right about the time that her and I got close, was right about the time that the gathering opened their doors for the first time. And so it was a perfect time to get her
That's
involved.
so neat. Annie, so on the other side of that,
Sorry,
you're
I'm
fine.
crying.
You're fine. Annie, on the other side of that, what was that like for you? Because you weren't actively attending church at this time, correct?
No, no. We would go to church maybe on Christmas Eve, maybe on Easter, like
Yeah.
maybe, depending on the day.
So,
Yeah.
so what was that?
Not because we didn't believe, it just wasn't in our routine, in our schedule, and just what we did. It was just kind of unfortunately put to the wayside. But like Lindsay said, she didn't push me. She would just bring it up in conversation. Hey, we've been meeting with this Sai and Monica. They're opening this new church. And she just said it herself. She speaks with so much joy and excitement that like, I'm like, oh, well, wait, I want to be a part of this. I want to go. Like, this sounds like fun. Like, I think this is something I could dig. Like, let's go, sign me up. And so there was one day that we were just sitting there and she's like, it's opening on September 20th. Did I get it right?
I
September
think the
19th,
22nd or
20th.
something. Yeah.
Oh, so
Around
close.
there.
All right. And she's like, put it on your calendar. And so I did. And we went to church and it's been on the calendar ever since. And we've made it a routine. So we don't even like ask on Saturday nights, are we going to church? Nope. We get up on Sunday mornings and we go to church and that's what we know what we're doing.
That's unreal.
So, and even the boys, they're like, are we going to church today? And I'm like, yep, we're going to church. Okay, get up, get ready, let's go.
One of the things I think people are
So,
fearful of when they have a friend that they love and care about and want to invite them to church and experience the blessings of going to church and having a relationship with Jesus is that that friend might be offended that you invite them or that you ask them, or they may feel like that you're making them a project or something. Annie, how did Lindsay like go about this invitation in a way that was not any of those things?
I think just her passion and her excitement of watching you and Monica like open these doors to Northeast Naples and all of us who need you here is just something that, you know, just her passion for it made it a passion for more
Yeah.
people. So definitely not a project by any means. I mean, maybe for her. Maybe she went home and she was like, she's never going to come to church.
People are
I'm
really
like,
interested in their
I,
life.
I put it in my calendar. If I put it in my calendar, you got a pretty solid yes out of me. So
I don't take no for an answer. I
that
like
is also true.
yeah, well, I take no, but like if you're like telling me like, yeah, well, we'll think about it, we'll talk about it, until I literally get the official no, I'm gonna keep asking.
I love that about you. I think that's really important to point out is like that this is to make this genuine, right? And to make it not like this project or like Lindsey, you like to feel like you were a salesman trying to to make a pitch and to make the sale or whatever, is that you need to have a genuine belief in your heart and a passion that like, man, this is good for me. Like I'm seeing God move in my life in some incredible ways. He's changing me. Um, I feel like I'm finding more joy and all the things that we believe Jesus does for you and helps you in. And when that's a genuine passion that you have, that overflowing passion is what makes your friends not feel like they're a project, but that you are honestly like saying, "Man, I went and saw this great movie. You need to see it." Right? That like or there like your example. There's this great new restaurant in town. It's so good. You all have to go. Um, I'm going to take you. You go with me. Like, what night are we going? Like, that's what Lindsey would do, right? It's
That's what she
exactly.
does.
It's the same thing, though.
I made a
That's
reservation
right.
for 6. Tell me if you're
I've
coming.
made a reservation on these 5 nights at 6. Which one works for you?
That is the truth
But I
too.
think,
So
go
I
ahead, sorry.
I go ahead. I would say like I am, naturally my background is sales, and so I think th- that's part of my like how I show passion so easily because but like I don't think I looked at church as being like a sales pitch. I think that for me it was more about like yeah, like you said, I know this is what you're like saying. But I think for me it was more of like I'm feeling all of this goodness that like God is answering my prayers and I want God to be able to do the same for others. And I mean, I felt like with Annie, with my own family, with Nick and the kids, I feel like I was at such a different place. Like I was really feeling his connection. And I want everybody to feel that connection. I want everybody to feel that goodness and what God can truly do for
Annie,
you.
what was God doing in your life before Lindsey made this invite? Because a lot of times we think, okay, I'm supposed to share my faith with others. I'm supposed to, pursue the one like Jesus did. And we don't understand that actually those people in our lives, they have a history with God already. They have a journey with God that's happened before you came into their life and you're wanting to invite them to come be a part of what you're doing. They already have this relationship with him in one way or another. It may be a really, really bad relationship. It might be a relationship that's been not been engaged in a while. But typically God puts someone on your radar because he's moving in their life separate from you. He's stirring their heart already in different ways. And so if we can talk just a little bit about like, Annie, what was God's role maybe preparing you for Lindsey to make that invite of like, hey, would you ever come to church with me? Was he at work before that? Like, was he stirring in you? Like, what was your life like before you ended up at the gathering with Jesus?
It's he definitely wasn't absent from our lives. Like John and I and our family, like we believe solely. But it just wasn't on the forefront of, what we talked about and what we did every day. We didn't practice. Weren't out searching for the one. And, because we didn't have anybody to bring in to take to church with us because we weren't going. But I think everybody does it, like where you're like, oh, you're having, you lost a family member. I'm sorry, I'll pray for you. And we'd just say this little prayer and then we'd move along. But then, just little things like that, I think is where like we were as like a family, like, oh, we'll pray for you. And then we just kind of do it on our own, not as a family, not as a husband and wife or, with the kids or anything. But, and we didn't like say blessings over our food or before we ate or anything like that, unless like my in-laws were around, and they nobody picks up a fork until the blessing is said. So, I mean, he's always there. He's always been there. We just weren't actively engaged in going to church. So, which has definitely made a big
Do you feel
difference.
like there was any kind of like, before Lindsey started talking to you, a stirring in your spirit about church before that? Or was it really Lindsey brought that up and that kind of made that awareness happen for you?
Lindsey definitely brought it up. It was never like a topic or a subject that like I said,
Yeah.
like if we didn't even know if we were going to church on Christmas Eve that morning, like we just see how the day goes. And if, we have time for it this afternoon, then we'll get ready and we'll go to church on Christmas Eve. So, which is kind of unfortunate looking back because I've missed all those years with my kids spending those moments with them.
Well, there's an old
So,
saying like, well, the best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago, right? The next best time to plant a tree is today. And so it's like, man, yeah,
today.
we missed, sure, but
Yep.
hey, now like God's doing
Yep.
some cool stuff in your life. It's been pretty awesome.
Yep.
Lindsey, when
Maybe they're at the age now that they'll be able to actively remember what it was like starting church and how it has impacted their life as well, and not just being like born into it. And
what was that like? Like, how has going to church, like, tell a little bit, Annie, about like the benefit? Like, you had a belief that was before being actively involved. What's the difference? I mean, how has moving from I believe all of this stuff, I'm just not involved, to being involved, how has that impacted your life in a positive way?
I mean, I
much,
think,
yep.
It's
was
for
this
Go
for
Annie.
me
ahead.
or? Oh,
Oh, much like Lindsey, like I want to be around people. I want to be serving, and I want people to come over and make the table to spread and have dinner with everybody. I feel like being involved with the gathering and serving there has just opened my heart up to so much more. And every sermon hits me like a different way. I have not left one Sunday without shedding a tear, whether it's happy or sad. Um, but just, I don't know. And it's made me more comfortable also, like going out and talking to my friends, and that one that, I really want to bring to church. I am being told, yes, soon, yes, soon. But I'm like, all right, until you tell me no, I'm not going to stop asking. So I'm going to keep coming
I
back for
wonder where you
you.
got that
So
from, Annie. So
maybe that's why we're
I
friends.
love that. So like just follow this for a second. Like, Lindsey, you invited Annie, and Annie, you've been
mm-hmm.
coming. Annie, you've invited several of your friends, and we've had several of them come one time or multiple times to different church events
Mm-hmm.
and services, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And so this is the ripple effect that can happen.
the ripple effect. Yes.
I have no more friends to invite to church because I don't have any other friends that don't go to my church. So the only friends I have go to the gathering. So I'm tapped out on that one.
Lindsey,
So
you were going to answer that question too. Like, how has getting actively involved impacted your life in a positive way?
sure.
Go ahead.
I think for me, you know, being involved in church, I just have seen as such a change in my life. I think a change for the good. I think things have improved overall in my life. I've gone through some really dark times. I've gone through some lots of winters in my life. And I think that for me, it's just, yeah, it just being part of this community and, having the people with me go walking through this with me. It's this incredible feeling. And I think for me, like I don't know. I have a friend my friend Kelly. Kelly and I have been friends for so long. She's my closest friend from Illinois. I have never sat down with Kelly and said, okay, let's pray together. This summer when we were at home, I mean, we were praying for something stupid, like the guys winning the golf tournament, but we're like, I'm like, should we say a prayer that they win this golf tournament? And so we literally sat, like, I've never said that to Kelly ever in my life. So we sat in the golf cart, like, she's Catholic. So she was like holding her rosary beads because she carries them in her purse. So she's like, and she's not like an active, like, she's not like practicing like regularly. So she's like holding her rosary beads, and we're sitting there praying in the golf cart. And I made her pray out loud because we all know that I don't like to pray out loud, but I eventually get comfortable with that. So, but we're like sitting there, like holding her rosary beads, praying for the guys to like win their golf tournament. And so I feel like it's become part of my everyday life. And like I said, as I just said, I have no more friends to invite to church because all of my friends go to church. And so I think I've now realized like I'm in this community where we're all part of this same community. We all have the same beliefs. And I think it really like looking from where my life was a year ago, a little over a year ago, I'm in a completely different place in my life. And I think, I mean, there's only one
Hmm.
reason. And I think, nothing like fills my heart more than when, the gatherings theme song is Made for More. Annie and I get in the car, and when we get in the car together, Made for More always comes on the radio every time we are together.
100%.
And every time. And when we are not together and we get in the car, like if we see the song come on the radio, we take a picture and we send it to each other. And so it's just kind of like this reminder, like that we both are in this, like that we're in this for each other and we're here to support each other and yeah, share the
I love
love.
that. Last question for each of you. Annie, I'm gonna let you, or I'll let Lindsey go first. How about this? How would you encourage other people to join Jesus's mission for the one?
I think for me, like I don't want to say I was embarrassed to have this conversation about Jesus with anybody. I don't think that's what the case was. But I think that you're kind of feel awkward. Like, when's the time to bring this up? When is the time to bring this conversation up? My encouragement is don't be afraid to share your love. Like, spread the word, invite them to church. And maybe it's just inviting them to church, and that's all it takes to get them to follow Jesus and be the one, it's that first day and that first visit. And I think for me, I think it's just don't don't be like, "Oh, John and Annie, they're not gonna go to church. They they're not into that. They like going on their boat on Sundays too much. They're doing this or that." There's like something, not saying that that's true, Annie, sorry. But like I like but like not like looking at it that way, like don't look at somebody and be like closed off because you don't like, "Oh, that's what they do on Sunday mornings. They go on their boat." Don't be closed off. Be open to the opportunity, and who cares? Somebody tells you no, they tell you no, but don't take no for the answer. You just be like, okay, the next time you talk to them, be like, oh, hey, church is doing this Christmas Eve service, or oh, you know, it's gonna be the Easter Sunday service, or not even just holidays. Oh, it's their 1 year anniversary, or oh, there's baptisms this week. You should come watch this baptism. And maybe it just takes that one
Hmm.
time and to get somebody there, and maybe then they'll get hooked. You never know. Don't take no for an answer. Just keep
Okay.
asking.
What about you, Annie? What would be your encouragement to other people?
That's what, be genuine, show up, just listen to their stories and tell them your stories. Like, Lindsay did with me. Don't make it like that's the only thing that you talk about when you see them. Like, don't make it a project. Like, but honestly, like it just takes that one connection, simple invite, and, without expecting anything in return, just, put it out there.
Yeah.
And just show kindness. That's been forgiveness and acceptance. Like that's what Jesus does for us individually, intentionally, you know. And when we love like that, people don't just hear about Jesus, they see him too. So just making everybody feel loved and included and comfortable,
Hmm.
that's my goal
I love that.
for the one.
Very, very. I have to tell you a story real quick, just about our friendship. We went out on the boat this last weekend, and Annie and I both showed up, not planned. This just says
Totally
where we're at
unplanned.
our, this is where it shows our friendship. We showed up completely unplanned in the same hat and basically the same swimsuit top. And the hat said, sorry about my husband. But like, I saw her, I was like, nice hat. She was like, oh, nice hat. And the boys thought we planned it, but it really truly was.
Not planned.
It was not planned. That's just our level of friendship.
That's awesome. I love that. I
Both
love that
apologizing for our husbands.
that posture, Annie, of there's no agenda here. Like I'm not trying to win you to get a notch in my belt or some kind of scorecard or anything. There's this word that they use in the Bible. It's called blessing, and it's the idea I want to be a blessing to others. And if you believe going to church blesses you, then it's natural for you to want to share that with others because you want to be a blessing to them, right? And
Absolutely.
if your goal is to bless other people, there's less goal of converting or getting a sale or anything like that. It's just, I want to bless you with my love, my friendship, with my hospitality, with my church, with my Jesus. Like that's what I'm doing, is I'm blessing you. And there's no agenda for that person. There's just agenda for you to be a blessing. And I love that. Well, friends, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And if you're following along, you can do that on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube to our podcast here. And always remember before you leave that you are made for more. So don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.